Hello my wildlings, Kelly Rice here, but I write under my pen name K.M. Rice. And welcome to my author vlog. I know I've lagged behind a little bit. If you guys have noticed, there is a pattern. I'm trying to post at least one of these a month. And I probably should be posting way more often than that, but videos are very time and energy consuming, even though it doesn't look like it because I'm just sitting here talking to the camera, but there's a lot that has to go into scheduling and planning and all that, whatever. So my focus has been elsewhere lately, and I'm just happy that I'm getting this up in June so that I still have a video up each month. For those of you who do not know, my family's going through a tough time right now. My mom is battling cancer and she's having a big procedure done called a stem cell transplant. So she is up in the hospital right now and she will be there for another week. She'll have been there for a few weeks in total, and the hospital's 2 hours away. So as you can imagine, going to and from and the stress that comes with all of this and the uncertainty and the scariness of fighting cancer, it all takes its toll. Took a big toll on me last summer, which I should probably film a video about, but this video isn't about that. I'm just offering a little bit of insight into my world and why my focus has not been on my YouTube channel. Though if you've been following my YouTube channel, I hope you've enjoyed the book trailer that I put out, because I have a new book coming out in just a few days on the 4th of July. It is the sequel to Ophelia. It is book 2 in the Afterworld series. There are 4 books in total, so this is book 2 of 4. It is titled Priestess, and if you have read Ophelia, which I hope you have, it is, the release date is significant because, well, if you've read Ophelia, you will understand why the 4th of July is significant in that book. And also, if you have not read Ophelia yet, now is your chance, because the ebook is only 99 cents on all major ebook retailers. You could read it on Nook, you could read it on your Kobo, you could read it on your Kindle, you can read it on whatever tablet or computer you have, because there's apps that adapt for all that, and it's also available on iBooks, and soon it will also be on Google Books. Which I'm not sure how popular that platform is yet, but I foresee it being a potential good resource because there are so many people on Google Play, in the Google Play Store. So that's my exciting news. And if you haven't checked out the trailers and the teaser video that I created for it, please do. I learned a little bit of After Effects, which was a steep learning curve, but I'm glad I did it because I'm very happy with how they turned out. And I'm so excited for you guys to get to read Priestess and find out what happens next in Ophelia's journey through time. Yes, the past is present. But today, after that long lead up to today's subject, I would like to talk to you about parasocial relationships. So what are they? Might be a word you've never even heard before. It's something that I've always thought about, but didn't know that there was an actual term for it, much less a branch of psychology about it. And a parasocial relationship is exactly what you and I have. Most of us. Because most of us have never met in person. Most of us didn't start our relationship as two human beings who met the old-fashioned way and had a conversation and then connected online. Some of us have, and some of us have connected in real life. What is this, fake life? I don't know. But some of us have connected in person. Outside of, or after, like, having, I guess, met virtually. So parasocial relationships, the definition is expanding these days, but traditionally they were defined as the relationship a viewer has with someone in the media, usually an actor in a TV show or a film. It's usually people that you see what they look like. So you can form that human connection with them. If you can't see someone's face, hear their voice, have, feel like you're just having well, maybe not just feel like you're having a conversation with them like we are, because a lot of actors are acting even when they're not acting. So maybe negate that part of what I just said. But you have to be able to form that human connection, to be able to look into the other person's eyes and have that authentic interaction. So, like I said, the definition is recently, not that recently, but definitely in the last like 10 years or so, expanded to include many different forms of media because, as you know by watching this, we now have many different media platforms in which we interact with each other. Some people have been able to take great advantage of these parasocial relationships. And I kind of don't like that word because it almost sounds like I'm saying parasite, and then I like throw you for a loop and I'm like social, not parasitic relationships. But they can become parasitic sometimes. And I'll talk more about that later. But yeah, the most modern definitions now include YouTube. Because YouTube has kind of eclipsed TV in a lot of ways. I don't know if many of you are young people or if you have young children, preteens. Nobody cares who is popular on TV. It is all about who is making videos on YouTube. And that's my way of like trying to be hip with the young audiences, is by being like, yeah, I have a YouTube and an Instagram. And then the kids are like, oh my God, what's your Instagram handle? How many subscribers do you have? How many followers do you have? And that's like the measure of coolness, you know? When I was younger, what was it? I guess bands? I'm not even sure. I was so not into what was hip or cool that I didn't even know. Pine cones were freaking cool to me. Rocks with fossils in them, dinosaur toys, all that stuff was cool to me. But anyway, I was, you know, obviously not necessarily the average kid and didn't have a lot of TV growing up. But maybe that was to my benefit. Maybe that's what helped me spur me into writing more. Just a sec. Sorry about that. A conversation suddenly erupted outside my door and I didn't want all that noise in the background. And as you may have guessed it, I stole that opportunity to delete the last vlog and some other footage from my memory card so that I can record this more. And I'm going to back up so it's not such an ECU. That's extreme close-up. So back to parasocial relationships. There has been a lot of talk about the parasocial relationships that are formed, this looks crooked, that are formed on social media and on platforms like YouTube. One of the tactics a lot of YouTubers use and people who are influencers on social media use to make their viewers or their followers feel special is they come up with a nickname for them. Sound familiar? That's something I did as well before I even knew there was a name for it or anything like that. And that was coming from a place of me wanting to create a community of wildlings. I've never seen Game of Thrones. I have since been notified a million times, like, I'm very aware that there is a group of characters or a race, whatever, in Game of Thrones referred to as the Wildlings. I'm not trying to riff off of that. I was called a wildling years ago by someone else who also had not seen Game of Thrones, and she was reaching out to me as someone who she thought, you know, she was asking if I ever did work with like preteen and teen girls because she had a daughter who she felt was kind of similar to me, and she was like, I would love it if she could connect with someone like you know, someone with kind of that Artemis energy and help guide her through life and show her it's okay to be creative and silly and love nature and be wild and all those things. So she said, I remember she said, my daughter is a wildling like you. And I was like, I love that word. So that was around the time that I started being like, I'm gonna use this as kind of a rallying cry because it's not just me and it's not just her daughter. There's tons of us out there. So that's why I started calling my fellow creatives wildlings, because we're tapping into our wildness, our wild creativity, and the part of ourselves that is buried deep beneath layers of socialization. I just thought I wasn't recording for a second and I got scared. The layers of us that are buried deep below all that we've been socialized to be and all that we've been taught that we are. And it's listening to that inner voice in our core that is who we truly are outside of all of those influences. And that often to me is creativity. So that's what a wildling is to me. And anyone can be a wildling. You don't have to be a professional artist or a writer or anything like that. Just find the areas of your life, usually through creativity, that express that inner howl. So I started calling you folks my wildlings a long time ago, not realizing that I was perpetuating part of this idea of a parasocial relationship. So what happens, and I've experienced this not only through my vlog, but especially through my web series Happy Hobbit, is that people who watch it get a good sense of your personality, what you're interested in, what you, your sense of humor. They get a sense of you without you actually having to, I'm going to use the word earn. They get information about you without earning it, in a way. because they're just being a passive viewer. It's not like you guys went out to dinner, had a walk in a park, it's not like me and these people, had a long conversation and that's where we found out this information about each other. It was just kind of given. I was putting it out there, subconsciously or not, when it comes to like aspects of personality that people pick up on. That's not always like, I'm trying to do this, and people were responding in kind. And it's not a bad thing at all. But one comment that my sister and I always get is that people respond to our authenticity, the fact that they could tell we're not like we're not actors. I was interested in acting for a little bit. It didn't really go anywhere. As soon as I realized that, especially as a woman, like I was going to be judged by what I looked like at every single audition, I was like, I don't have the self-esteem for this. When I get rejected, it's going to be hard. So I dropped that at 19 or 20. And I was like, I want to tell stories, but I don't know if I want to be the face that's telling the story, which goes all the way back to like my last vlog where I was talking about how I always wanted to kind of be the author behind the scenes and not have this be out there selling my stuff for me. But that's obviously what's happening, as evidenced right now. And I couldn't be doing it without the parasocial relationships I formed with lovely people like you. So, like I said, it used to be kind of more relegated to like film stars. But now, because we have all these different media platforms, people are forming parasocial relationships left, right, forwards, backwards, diagonal, every different way. They used to be characterized as a one-way relationship. So say I was Brad Pitt and I'm on TV and I'm like, that's right, I'm effing Brad Pitt. And like, you're in the audience, you're like, it's Brad Pitt, I love Brad Pitt. And then you get together with your friends, you're like, Brad Pitt, I love Brad Pitt. And they're like, I love Brad Pitt too. And everyone's talking about Brad Pitt. And then someone read an article about him in a magazine. They're like, I learned all this about Brad Pitt. And they're like, oh my God, Brad Pitt. And then you can go to a premiere and you're like, oh my God, hi Brad Pitt, it's me, Sadie, do you remember me? Do you remember, like, oh, never mind, you wouldn't remember me, but like, I love you, Brad Pitt. And Brad Pitt's like, hi. Because Brad Pitt doesn't know you. Like, it doesn't go back and forth. And luckily, at least for me, because my following has never gotten like exponentially giant. I mean, I have over 13,000 likes on Facebook, but most of those people, Facebook doesn't show my stuff to 13,000 people. Those days are over. But most of those people I don't interact with. Most of the people who do interact with me, you know who you are. And I do my best to interact back because I value these relationships just as much as you guys do. And this is where the parasocial thing gets weird because of the internet. Like, we have these intense friendships and connections with people that we maybe have never met or have only seen a handful of times in our lives. Or maybe we'll never see. We'll only ever know them virtually. And to me, that doesn't diminish them. It doesn't make them any less than, a relationship where you're seeing someone face to face. It's different. You can never equate the two as the same thing, but it's not bad. I think that if you find yourself, now this is a tangent, but if you find yourself in a situation where most of your friendships are online and you actually don't get much human one-on-one FaceTime, I would suggest you try to remedy that just because there's so many benefits you get from physically being with another human that you can't get virtually. But other than that, some people tend to talk about it as like this negative shift, and I don't see it as negative. I'm kidding, the internet has brought me my career. But there are some obvious pros and cons to these parasocial relationships. And like I said, I started forming them, and even just doing this vlog, we are engaged in a parasocial relationship or interaction that I was unaware of. So the pros are obviously, I am an artist. I rely on the public to support my creative endeavors by buying my books. So by watching my videos, by interacting with me on social media, liking, sharing posts, buying my books, reviewing my books, those things, how many were those? 4? Those are like my bread and butter. That is how you help me. So if you've ever been curious on how to help me, those are big ways that you can help me, especially the reviews, because that then helps my work reach a wider audience. So I could not have no one in the arts, even though someone like Brad Pitt, now I don't really know anything about Brad Pitt, but someone like Brad Pitt, someone try to rely on the mystique of being a celebrity, and someone like that might not be as open to this back and forth, and they might want to try to remain untouchable. But I'm luckily not at that point, and I 100% rely on the public, and so does Brad Pitt, by the way. Nobody goes to see his movies if nobody's interested in him, and we've watched this with the Me Too movement. We've watched people's careers be brought down when the public opinion has turned against them. So I kind of think it's pretty rude of people like in a position like Brad Pitt, and I'm not trying to call out Brad Pitt because he's probably a nice guy, I don't know. But I think it's kind of rude to be like, the public, when it's like, that's why you have your life and your job. But they do that because there are some downsides. And I've talked about like trolls before, but that's more black and white. That's like people showing up, saying profane things, saying rude things. You know, just obviously they're trolling. Like when you're fishing and you put a hook, maybe with bait in the water, and you're just waiting to see someone that's gonna bite. And that's why we call them trolls. And also they're trolls. Oh, don't feed the troll. Because then they got attention. Doesn't matter if it's negative attention, it's still attention. But I have also had situations with people who feel as if they are entitled to information about me, as if they are entitled to aspects of my life, as if they are entitled to make demands of my work or my life. And that, to me, is crossing the line. And that is where parasocial relationships can turn toxic or can turn dangerous. So I will elaborate on that a little bit for you, just so that if you are another YouTuber, if you're someone else putting yourself out there on social media, just be aware that there is this other side to things, and that it's important to come up with some boundaries of how much of you that you're willing to share and how much you're willing to tolerate from other people. And some other people just will not take a hint. I have had multiple people, it's not just one person doing this, I have had multiple people make multiple accounts to try to stay in touch with me after I've blocked them. A very ironic one was someone who said, oh, I see that you excluded me or you blocked me, and I want to let you know that I respect your boundaries, so I created this other account and I'm messaging you to tell you that I respect your boundaries. So that kind of thing, like, obviously it gets old. As I've mentioned before, I've had online stalkers. I've had people in other countries telling me that they are going to hunt me down and fly to my town, find my house, find me to, quote, prove their love for me. That's an extreme example of a parasocial relationship. I have barely any knowledge of who this other human is, and yet because they've watched my videos or seen my picture, they've decided that I'm the one for them. That's really weird. As you can imagine, it's very strange when you're on the other side of that. And it's, it's weird on the giving side too, or the pursuant side, the deluded side. But that is what happens. And come to think of it, I have sometimes had that happen with people who I do know in real life, but then when they see the video version of me or they see the image of me projected on social media, a dangerous trap that people fall into when they're idealizing someone. And I'm going to, again, just use me as the example because it's my personal experience. If someone's looking at me and idealizing me, they are going to take the pieces of information that they know about me, and then everything else that they do not know about me, what they tend to do is fill in with their ideal. So maybe I hate, it's not true, but maybe I hate country music, and I won't eat meat, and I can't stand the snow. None of those things about me are true, but say. But someone else is looking at me from afar being like, God, I feel like I'd really get on with her. Like, I wish I could date her. Oh man, she'd have so much fun going to that steakhouse with me in Alaska and dancing to country music. God, that would be so great, because those are things that person would like to do. And then they fill in the blanks and they treat you as a canvas. I think that that has come from the fact that these parasocial relationships for so long have been with intangible people who, like Brad Pitt, and it is just one way, and we've been taught to objectify those people, we've been taught to fantasize about them, because that's what keeps us shilling out the dough to go see their movie, to buy the magazine with them on the cover, to, you know? So it's odd, and I think that has been transferred to people who aren't like legit famous, like me, and people apply the same principles and don't understand that they're actually overstepping boundaries. And like I said, sometimes it is people that you know in real life who then you're kind of a fantasy for them. One other thing is, like, I obviously have really long hair. That's with a certain group of people, that's kind of all I need to have for them to take an interest in me and fill in all these other ideas about me, like that what I must be like. So that's always awkward. And like I said, sometimes a little bit scary. And when the harassment online gets to the point that you're playing whack-a-mole with fake accounts, as people are making them just to try to stay in touch with you, or to, or the other side is when they, quote, break up with you. And again, this is a known thing that happens in parasocial relationships. When you displease them, when you don't take their advice, when you tell them, look, you've crossed the line, we are done, they treat it like a breakup. A lot of people treat it like a breakup, and that's because they have invested so much emotionally in this relationship. And that's like a perfect example of what I just gave, of the person saying, oh, yeah, I see you set a boundary there, and I'm trying to respect your boundaries. You know, it's kind of like your ex, like, you're like, look, this relationship isn't working, it's over, and then they're like, okay, that's cool, so I'll see you Saturday, right? Like, we can just be friends still. And that stuff is hard for me. That doesn't come naturally to me because I don't like burning bridges. I don't like being rude to people. But the older I've gotten, the more I realize the necessity of doing that. And the other thing I don't like is that even if it's poor behavior or unwanted advances, etc., by shutting them down, I'm still giving them attention. By saying, stop messaging me and blocking them, I just gave them a ton of attention. Doesn't matter that it's negative. I still validated their feelings, I validated their interest in me, I validated, most dangerously, I feel like that by doing that, I'm validating the fact that a relationship between us exists, because I'm ending it. That's where I get scared, because you never know who is who online. You don't know who you're actually talking to, what they're capable of, where they actually are. People can do all kinds of crazy, scary things. So that goes back to boundaries. So you can get caught in the position where, like I said, I've been in several times, where you need to make it clear to this person that, like, it is done. Do not contact me anymore. But that's a scary thing, because you are putting yourself at risk. And like I said, you are basically confirming to them what they already believe, which is like that there's something going on between the two of you. Even though, like with one of the online stalkers, even though the only communication was cease and desist, cease and desist, cease and desist, it's still giving them that attention and validating every time. And again, that's tough, because most people who I talk to, like my friends, are like, well, we'll just block them or just tell them to leave you alone. It's like, it's not that easy, because what they're seeking is your attention and you're giving it to them. So that's why it's important to have boundaries. As you guys have probably noticed, one of my boundaries is I don't go into extensive detail on my personal life. And that's because I used to on my blogs and everything. But I've learned that when you do that, and when you do have a slightly wider audience, you're obviously opening yourself up not only to criticism, but you're opening yourself up to these relationships more and more and more. And it's like everything in life. A few bad apples spoil it all. Because when my sister and I are doing live chats, or even just when I'm doing a live chat, which I'm probably going to do really soon, I don't necessarily have my guard up when that's happening. And people are asking me questions, and I'm answering the questions, and because to me, like I said, I get a lot. It's not one way. I love talking with you guys, and I'm getting a lot out of it as well. So I feel like we're all just like hanging out and chatting. Even though I can't see all of you, I can still read your comments, and I'm going to be much more open in those situations. But then sometimes people take information from that and they run with it. So it's a really delicate tightrope to walk. And as I said that, I just realized I'm balancing on one foot. Trying to be healthy, standing to film this. Also because I rearranged my room and I don't have my elegant dresser anymore with my plethora of leaves and moss and things, but I still have that stuff on the shelf above me that you can't see, and you can still see my Wheel of Time. But anyway, aside from my balancing act, it is a balancing act, balancing these parasocial relationships. But you will also find some of the greatest friendships and the loyalist, I'll call them fans, your loyalist readers, your loyalist supporters and patrons come from these relationships. And like I said, most of them are perfectly fine, healthy, and go back and forth. But like everything in life, there are a few bad apples who ruin it, and once you have those negative experiences, you learn that you have to be a little bit more cagey. So definitely set up boundaries. And I will mention boundaries to you as well as a viewer in terms of, because it's not just me. If you're watching these videos, chances are you're watching a lot of other videos as well. And I apologize for my dog barking in the background. But then make sure that before you reach out to other people like me, maybe just remind yourself that they're a real person. And before you start saying something, I mean, most of the people who watch this vlog aren't going to be saying obscene things, but just always remind yourself that it's another person on the other end, and how would you feel, you know, and try to put yourself in their shoes, because too often we're used to, it's Brad Pitt, they're never going to read this, you know, but these days it's completely different. So that's my advice, and that's just a little bit of what parasocial relationships are. It's a huge subject that is being studied in psychology, and if you're curious, you can look up more information. I'll stop balancing on one foot now. But you can look up more information if you want. And it's something that fascinates me. It's something I benefit from, both not only in terms of my career, but emotionally, you know, like I've been a staff member on the One Ring for years. I've been doing live webcasts and stuff like that for years. I love it. And like, it's very exciting, especially on the One Ring, when we had a few, you know, big soirees and I was able to meet some of these people who I'd been interacting with online. Like, that was as exciting for me as it was for you guys. So it's not all one way at all. And I think that's the biggest shift. But now you know what it is, and now you know what, I guess, what our relationship is technically called. So, again, this is KM Rice, and I've got a new book coming out called Priestess, and you can get book 1, because Priestess is book 2, on all your favorite platforms for only 99 cents. Or you could buy a print version, and if you really want to, you can go to my Etsy shop and buy a print version from me that I will sign. And if you want to, you can support me on Patreon. From me, and this really nice Coconut Waves candle that I got at Michael's. I wish you a very fond farewell. And these were 3 for $10. I tell you, this is giving Yankee a run for its money. And I'm a candle consumer. Wow, that was a big tiger swallow butterfly that just flew by. I'm a candle consumer, and I can tell you, this is pretty good. Alright, so from me, and my coconut candle, bid you all a very fond farewell.